What are we discussing on today's Locked on Diamondbacks podcast? Of course, previewing the upcoming series against the San Diego Padres, discussing if the Dbacks should be favored, and looking at some all-star debates between the two teams. And of course, since it's Dbacks Padres, we got to have a crossover with Locked on Padres host Javier Reyes.
You are Locked on Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Locked on Padres and Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day for Friday, June 13th. As always, I'm your host, the San Diego Padres fan from New Jersey, and I've been covering the team for almost 6 years now for not just this podcast, but also various other outlets, including justbaseball.com, chief among them. Today's show, though, is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. And let me tell you today, we're talking about the state of the NL West. We're talking about pitching matchups. And we're talking about some all-star game debates between the Padres and Diamondbacks. And the reason I said Locked on Diamondbacks before, you know why I said that? Because Millard Thomas, the host of Locked on Diamondbacks, is joining me today. My old longtime buddy, old pal. Sir, how you doing, man?
Doing good today, Javi. Been a minute since I've hopped on Locked on Padres. Usually it's the reverse, so happy to be joining you today, sir.
Absolutely, man. And look, this is great. We love a matchup between these two teams always. We've done plenty of crossovers over the years. I could say that now. Yeah.
What's the over-under on FanDuel?
We've got you got to put the over-under at 24.
24?
I think.
Ooh, that's my
24. Oh, you like 24? You a big Jack Bauer fan, maybe? Anything like that? No?
More Kobe Bryant, more the GOAT,
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. I forgot about Kobe Bryant for a second. But, guys, today's episode is going to be a lot of fun. We will be breaking down the state of the division first, though. Let's get into that because, I mean, yes, was a little bit of a hook at the beginning just to get everybody to tune in. Yes, I had a bit. Look, we're all slaves to the algorithm. What can I say? But I do kind of mean it in the sense is this. The Arizona Diamondbacks before the season were regarded as one of the more slam dunk, wait, this win total, the FanDuel win total was too low on this team. 85.5 wins for a team that won 89 games last year, despite their whole rotation getting nuked to oblivion, and made the World Series last year. And all they did was add Corbin Burns, swap out Christian Walker for Josh Naylor, which turned out to be really good. By the way, Josh Naylor having a great season. And yet, things have not gone the Diamondbacks' way. And basically, every sense of the word. They still aren't, they're not the worst team in baseball, obviously. Nothing like that. But they currently stand at 34-34 on the season with not just the Padres, but also the Giants and the Dodgers ahead of them. The Padres up on 4 games. Man, Corbin Burns injury, all that stuff. But dude, what is if you could summarize, I guess, what's going on with the D-backs right now, go for it.
I mean, the worst part of the D-backs so far has definitely been the bullpen and the meltdowns that we've seen. The D-backs have had so many leads this year. If I tell you your team has a losing record when scoring double-digit runs, it's probably a recipe for disaster. D-backs have lost games where they scored more than 10 runs. D-backs have lost games where Eugenio Suarez have hit 4 home runs in a single game, and the D-backs have gone on to lose games like that. There's been so many disasters and meltdowns by this D-backs bullpen. Like you mentioned, we did that that crossover roundtable in the offseason with all the hosts. We were discussing, which team has a chance to be the biggest disappointment. I did a whole bit saying, you know what? I think the San Diego Padres could be this year's Phoenix Suns. Little did I know, the Arizona Diamondbacks are just going to play like their literal next-door neighbors because Footprint Center, the Suns Arena, is right next to Chase Field. And the Suns, fully healthy team, just straight up sucked all season. D-backs, listen, I know they got some injuries to Corbin Burns in their bullpen. When they were fully healthy, this team was below 500. So I'm not going to look at the Corbin Burns injury now or the Jamar injury now. When this team was fully healthy, they were still struggling to win games. And so it's not the Padres who are the Phoenix Suns of 2025. It might be the Arizona Diamondbacks, sadly.
And we talked about it before recording. FanDuel Vegas, do they know things? Because there's always these obvious looking things, and it just doesn't seem to be turning the D-backs' way. That being said, right, while you did mention that the Diamondbacks pitching has been pretty horrid Let's call it that way. They are 25th among all major league teams in ERA right now. Actually, they're tied with the Los Angeles Angels, which isn't a good sign, for the worst ERA in baseball. Padres at 6. A big part of that has been, decent contributions from their starting pitching, but then the bullpen, right? So complete antithesis of the Dbacks. While the Dbacks, when it comes to offense, have been spectacular. And I think that was to be expected, but even still, they're 4th in wins above replacement and WRC plus, if you want it, whichever metric you want to do. They've been pretty okay. Corbin Carroll, not surprisingly, back in like every sense of the word, 3.3 wins above replacement. He's hitting the snot out of the ball. For a guy of his size to be hitting for this much power is impressive. Yeah. It's just amazing. He's fast. He's playing great defense. He's still great. Geraldo Perdomo, being an excellent kind of guy that people didn't expect. Ketel Marte, I think the most underrated star, dare I say, in baseball. Like it's just been insane. And by the way, Ketel Marte, fun thing. Last calendar year, he's only played 112 games and he's still 9th in Fangraphs wins above replacement at 6.1. That's crazy. Like the fact that he's missed time and he's still been this good. But the reason I mentioned, and I did the tease in the first segment, is this. I think this series, because the D-backs are still at 500 and the Padres also just lost the series against the Dodgers and they play the Dodgers again this upcoming week, conversation could change by the end of next week. And if it changes, then that affects the rest of the National League. Why? Because let's assume the D-backs are not their year and they're selling. Mm-hmm. They have the best pieces of any major league team for the most part if they wanted to be sellers. Josh Naylor could be one. Right. Zach Gallen, who got roughed up the other, you could be one, maybe a reclamation guy for a lot of, they have some, they have some value in players that people would like. Obviously not Corbin Carroll. I'm not crazy, but that would change things big time. And it would also take away a team from the wild card race. Right. And that would affect, can the Reds make a run now? So depending, the D-backs are kind of like that team that everyone's going to be watching and seeing, are they going to go for it? Because in previous years, and I'm talking a lot, but in previous years, the D-backs have been at this spot and they're like, no, we're going for it. One time they made a World Series. Last year, they didn't because the Padres had such a resurgence in the second half, but they did play okay, right? Like this isn't a team that will make it very obvious that they're quitting. It would not shock me, I think, if they were a little bit aggressive come deadline time.
Yeah, it's all going to come down to the month of June. Last year, when you look at the D-backs, they won 89 games, but entering the month of June, they were 5 games below 500. They went 16-11 in the month of June, and it changed their whole season. D-backs, over the next couple of weeks, if they finish with a good month, I think they have to go at least 16-10 in the month of June, do what they did last year to turn their season around again, because like you said, there's a lot more pending free agents on this team than there was the last couple of years, where it's a lot easier of an argument for the D-backs team to become sellers at the deadline if this season starts to go sideways. The NL West is stacked at the top. You already lost Corbin Burns to Tommy John, potentially J Mart, your young closer too. We're waiting on the news for him, but he might be out the rest of the season. Like, if you get to the deadline and you're like 7-8 games back of a wild card spot, Zach Gallen's a pending free agent, like you said. Merrill Kelly as well. Got Randall Grichuk on an option. Suarez is a pending free agent. Josh Naylor's a pending free agent. Like, Zach Gallen has already talked to the reporters and said, the clubhouse got together a couple weeks ago, and we talked as a team and said, if we don't turn this around by the deadline, we know a lot of these guys might not be here in August. So the players know what level is expected from them over the next couple weeks, because they know if they don't start playing better, a lot of these guys might start getting shipped out. And honestly, those comments kind of scared me, because it made me think, like, since they do know that, are they going to like kind of mail it in? Like, if the vibes are down, are they just going to kind of mail it in and be like, hey, I could go get traded to San Diego. I could get traded to the Dodgers or one of these other NL West teams to play, not in hot Arizona during the summer. And so those comments scared me a little bit. But yeah, this series against the Padres and the rest of the series for the June, I think this is the big crossroad for a team that went to the World Series a couple years ago. Now they could be looking at a potential rebuild in 2 weeks, or they could be going all in at the deadline. So huge crossroads for the D-backs the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely, man. And this series, folks, let me tell you, in my opinion, there might be a big factor that gives the Diamondbacks a huge advantage in this series. But first, a word from our sponsors. And one of those sponsors today is something that everyone's had before. And let me tell you, let's be real just for a second, everybody. You come close. Let's talk about it. Coffee isn't just a drink. It's a ritual. It's a lifeline. The thing that gets you from half asleep to fully functioning maximum overdrive like Plankton and SpongeBob. And if it's that essential, why settle for anything less than amazing? That's where Trade Coffee comes in. Whether you're gearing up for back-to-back meetings, shuttling kids back and forth to activities, or tackling an endless to-do list, I know you all can relate. You need the coffee that's crafted just for you. Trade Coffee is the #1 destination for coffee in the U.S., delivering fresh, incredible coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. Whether you're a cold brew fan or a pour-over purist, they've got a roast you'll love. And they've got a little quiz for you, right? Give you your experience with the coffees you've tried before or from Trade. And, the quiz, it asks you what you like. It's a curate maybe to help you compare the prices to others. It's great. Taste, smell, what kind you've had, all that sort of stuff. So go check out that quiz, and indeed go check out this nice little deal for our sponsors, right, guys? Trade is exclusively offering our customers 50% off your 1-month trial at drinktrade.com/lockedonmlb. That's trade, TRADE.com/lockedonmlb for 50% off your 1-month trial. Trade Coffee. Go on and check it out. And just like that, everybody, we are back here thriving and vibing into the second segment of this Locked On Padres, Locked On Diamondbacks, crossover. Duh. There we go. You can follow me on Twitter /X at Javapeno and Blue Sky at the same handle. You can also follow Millard at Creator Thomas 24. Yeah. Oh, he said, there we go. I mean, I forgot. I honestly forgot in the intro to do that. Millard, let's talk about pitching matchups. And this, I was not kidding. I think the Dbacks could have an advantage in the series, and here's why. Because they will be facing two guys who are very young, a little bit unproven, and this Dbacks offense is a tough one to go against, right? Like, this is not going to be a very fun series, especially in Arizona. The first game, Stephen Kolek versus Ryan Nelson. Now, don't get me wrong. We already talked about the Dbacks not having the best pitching. But for Stephen Kolek in this matchup, before I let you talk about Ryan Nelson, I think has been very, very good this year. Produces a lot of ground balls, produces a decent amount of low exit velocities and all that stuff. And I just think that he has a better repertoire than, say, in the Padres rotation, a guy like Randy Vasquez, who is using Chiefs devil magic somehow. No whiffs, no ground balls, hard hit like crazy, but he's still got a 3.6 ERA. Like he's magic somehow. I think Kolek's consistent ability to generate ground balls could help, but this is a tough offense. And then there's Ryan Nelson for the D-backs. What can you say about him?
Yeah, well, I first want to say Stephen Kolek. Yeah, I definitely needed a refresher from you on some of these Padres pitchers, because you just look at the probable pitchers for this series, not your typical D-backs Padres matchup, at least from the Padres side, because like you said, we got Stephen Kolek in game one. Ryan Bergert, yeah, you're going to have to give me a little rundown on him. Not going to lie, this was the first time I've seen his name, Javi, so I'm going to need a little insight on him. Kolek, I know because we're in a fantasy league, and he's always a hot waiver wire ad after that 9-inning shutout performance he had earlier in the season. But Ryan Nelson comes in as the Corbin Burnes replacement, and he's an interesting pitcher because if you take away his last start, he was like a 1.69 ERA. His first 3 starts of the 2025 season. And if you go look at last year in 2024, there's a real argument to be made. Ryan Nelson was the best pitcher for the D-backs last season. In the second half and like the last 13, 14 starts, he had like a 3.3 ERA. So there's an argument to be made. Ryan Nelson over the last calendar year has been the best D-back starter. Now, I probably wouldn't make that argument, but he has been very good for Arizona as a fill-in, as a guy who could give you some innings, as a high velocity arm too. He's a fastball dependent guy. There is not a lot of mix in his arsenal. He's not going to fool you. He's going to throw that fastball 70% of the time, and he's going to challenge you every time with it. But he's super effective with it, and he's been a very good starter now for the D-backs over like his last 20 starts. So I'm pretty excited to see him in game number 1. Then in the last 2 games of the series, you're going to see classic frontline starter for the D-backs, Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly, a couple old foes. Zach Gallen, as you've probably seen the numbers, very up and down season going in game number 2, because we know what Zach Gallen is. He's had a very down season. It's been a wacky year for no one really knows why, but can you give me a little insight of what we have to face on the other side? Because for Zach Gallen, I know what he is, even though he's had a down year, but I have no idea what to expect from Ryan Bergert.
First of all, I like you cheating and just skipping ahead to the starters of the next game. You little hoodlum. No, I'm kidding. But in all seriousness,
I apologize.
No, you're good. You're all good, man. All love here. Unlike the beef that we have with another team in this division. All right. You know what I mean? Like, this is all love. But no. Look, I mean, love what you said about Ryan Nelson. I think that it's going to be interesting to follow. And hey, Padres, they've had some bad luck against Diamondbacks starting pitching in the past, right? May or may not have gotten no hit and someone making their major league debut before, which I think is somehow right. Like, it, no one talks about that, by the way. Major league debut, you threw a no hitter. It's kind of insane, right?
He's like already done as a major leaguer. Like, one season he's out. It's like, okay.
It's like, and then no hit. It's in his first start. Like, doesn't get talked about enough. Like, that's crazy. But the second starter in this game going up against Zach Gallen, while it looks great, 1.26 ERA, Ryan Berger. He's interesting and also a friend of the show. He was on my show in the offseason. He's got a decent fastball. It can touch 96. He's got a decent sweeper, but he doesn't have this type of stuff that I think is projected to do well against like lefties. So that could be a weakness for him. Here's the thing. This is why I said this before. These are unproven young guys. It's Randy Vasquez, Ryan Berger, and Stephen Kolek. In terms of the young guys, you're going to see two of them, Stephen Kolek and Ryan Berger this weekend. And to me, he's looked pretty okay. He's not getting crazy swing and miss, but he's not getting crushed either. And that's what the Padres need right now, given the injuries to Michael King and Yu Darvish, right? So can he do okay this series? This is a tough team to face, right? But what I do like is that the hard hit rate has been low against some decent competition, right? Not necessarily the best competition in the world, but I'll take it for a guy that isn't necessarily a top level prospect, right? Like, he had a good start against San Fran and he had a pretty good start against Milwaukee Brewers, right? Decent stuff. I'm hoping that he can just give them innings. I would not be surprised if this is one of those games where he only goes 4 and they bring in a lot of relievers, right? Could totally happen. And then lastly is Nick Pivetta versus Merrill Kelly. Good old Merrill, who I believe has been one of the quietly ascending guys. I've been talking about all season that my bold prediction for this year, one of them anyway, was that Nick Pivetta would be an all-star. Well, he's been great, and he might very well have the chance. He gets a lot of strikeouts, but Merrill Kelly has been awesome. And one of the reasons that I think a lot of people, myself included, were high on the Dbacks coming into this year, he's had 8 straight quality starts. I have him in a fantasy league too. It's awesome. He's been really, really sharp, right? Like, on paper, this Dbacks rotation should be good. And then you have Zach Gallen, whose ERA is bloated, 5.15. Like, it's just been really tough for him. So, conclude my thoughts, though. Nick Pivetta pitching for the Padres against Merrill Kelly, who I just mentioned, right? In that last game. So the one pitching advantage that the Padres might have, the D-backs also have one of their best guys going. So that's why on the surface level, this could be a tough series for the Padres.
Yeah, it feels like it might come down to like D-backs offense versus Padres starters, and then the Padres bullpen versus, how long they can last versus, the D-backs, because obviously you just mentioned it's a lot of youngsters going for this Padres team. They haven't really seen the D-backs a ton. D-backs, one of the best offenses in the National League. Maybe they get to that Padres rotation early, which they might need to do, because you just look at the numbers for the Padres bullpen. It's been dominant. So if Stephen Kolek is going out there giving 6-7 innings, it might be tough to win a game. Same with the vice versa. We're going to need to have elite Ryan Nelson and Zach Gallen, because we know that Padres offense is really good. And if you get to the D-backs bullpen, which has been awful early in the games, it could spell disaster for Arizona. And so I think it could really come down to those kind of situational matchups in this series.
Absolutely, man. Agreed 150%. And hey, yes, the Padres have the stars, but they've struggled as an offense. So this first game, Ryan Nelson, can they hit off the fastballs? They should be able to. You got Jackson Merrill, Manny Machado. He's been excellent. Fernando Tatis Jr. has been struggling for a while, and they have the stars, but this is a team that has struggled offensively many times throughout the season. So we will have to see. But speaking of Tatis and Manny Machado, guys, we're going to have a little bit of fun. Get Millard's spirits a little bit up, because his teams, they're going through it. All right. And we're going to talk about some early all-star game, fun little debates for you on this Fun Friday episode in just 1 second, after a word for one of our sponsors. And that sponsor is the one that you heard at the top of the show, guys, because the NBA playoffs, they've been going all the way, man. They've been great. And the NBA Finals, they're going even more. 2-1 series lead for the Pacers. And every night has been delivering highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. And whether it's a game-winning shot, like our man Halliburton the moment, or a breakout player, like TJ McConnell the other day, There's never been a better chance to get in on the action, and FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Even if you're new to FanDuel, have no fear. It's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet, and if it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. And just like that, everybody, we are back here at the final segment of this show at Javapeno on Twitter/X. One more time, Twitter/X and Blue Sky JAVIIPENO, and at Creator Thomas 24 on Twitter/X. Go check him out. He's doing great stuff on there. But don't let that profile picture fool you. My man comes with the savagery routinely throughout the day. Let me tell you, man, this guy, he does not mince words. And I imagine he's not going to mince words when hyping up some of his players. All-star game debates, man, because both of these teams have got some great players, right? Fernando Tatis Jr. versus Corbin Carroll, Eugenio Suarez versus Manny Machado, Josh Naylor versus Luis Arraez. That last one was a little bit of a joke, but nonetheless, that's kind of where we are. Both of these teams got so many stars offensively, but the Dbacks, man, like, consistently underrated. I mentioned that Ketel Marte stat, the fact that he's still ninth in wins per replacement is crazy. Ever since over the last 100 games, insane stuff. Let's start with Tatis versus Corbin Carroll. How are you feeling about your boy in this debate, if there even frankly is one?
I like Corbin Carroll. You look at the numbers, it should be Corbin Carroll. The thing that scares me though, Javi, it just the star power and the branding of Fernando Tatis. I still feel like when a casual fan logs into the MLB All-Star ballot, Tatis just has more gravitas than a Corbin Carroll. I just don't think they match up in terms of the selling and the marketing of players. I love Corbin Carroll, but he doesn't really show a ton of personality a lot. Corbin Carroll's a very much composed guy. Even when he has these big moments in the game, he's not ripping his jersey off, screaming around the field. He's probably not as emotional and as hyped as a Fernando Tatis. So even though if you go on, if you click by OPS on the MLB All-Star ballot, Corbin Carroll's number one among qualified outfielders. We're not counting Ronald Acuna in the 15 games he's played this year. Corbin Carroll has the best OPS among Dbacks outfielders. So if you go by the stats, it should be Corbin Carroll. But I'm scared because of the star power of Fernando Tatis. I'm also scared the Chicago Cubs are gonna lock in two outfielders of Pete Crow Armstrong and Kyle Tucker, and then it's gonna come down to Corbin Carroll versus Fernando Tatis for that last All-Star ballot in the outfield.
And look, here's the thing. Basically every metric as of right now, he's been better. 152 WRC plus compared to a very good, but still less, 131 from Fernando Tatis Jr. I actually think that Corbin Carroll's going to take it, man. And now here's the thing. We still have time. Tatis had very quietly, although I think everyone's paying attention, he was the MVP of the National League in the first month of the season. And what's keeping him afloat also is that he's been an excellent defender and in some ways better than Corbin Carroll, who's still a very good one, by the way. But Tatis has been otherworldly. He's looking like that platinum glove potential winner again. But the Tatis, I mean, when you hit May, this man fell off a cliff, the likes of which the world has never seen. I'm lying, but even still, it is true to an extent, right? This is a guy that looked like he was fully back. He changed his batting stance, right? He was a lot more patient. And while he's shown some improvements, don't get me wrong, and he's been getting a little bit better. Let me read you his OPS. In March, what was it? When did we start the season? I always forget. We started in April.
March.
It's April, March, right?
I just say April.
986 OPS in April. Do you know what his OPS was in May and June?
I'm gonna say 602.
626 OPS in May, and so far through June in 10 games, 592. He was so obscenely good the first month of the season, like Judge level, dare I say, that it's kind of saved him, and he had that nice walk-off home run as well. It's kind of protected him, right? I think you're right in the sense that he does have the sexiness, the awesome appeal that everyone's gonna like. But I will say, we're gonna have to see. It wouldn't shock either of us if he gets right back to it, if he figures out the hitting. But we'll have to see, right? Because he has been hitting the ball into the ground more than his whole tenure frankly, as a Padre ever. So he's been struggling. We're going to have to see how it goes, but it's got to be Corbin Carroll right now. And like you said, you got Kyle Tucker in there. Although Kyle Tucker has slowed down just a tiny bit, I will say, ever since that just insane stretch he had. Just a tiny bit, just a little bit. But he's been awesome. Chicago Cubs fan base is going to be big time. And then Pete Armstrong leads Major League Baseball, at least in the National League, and wins above replacement. He's got 3.6. I mean, he's crazy. I don't know how long it's going to last, but he's been amazing. So yeah, for now, you got to give it to Corbin Carroll. But let's talk a little bit. Been talking a little bit too much about this, but Eugenio Suarez and Manny Machado. I think this is also one that's not a debate, but I do not think that is a slight against Eugenio Suarez. And frankly, heading into the year, if you were like, I wouldn't be surprised if he's better, I wouldn't be either. He's been one of the most consistent power hitters in Major League Baseball for a long time now. But Machado, he's up there in every stat right now. He's fully back to not just being a good player, and I thought he was going to be a good player, but being a superstar player for the Padres this year.
Well, it depends what stats you care about, Javi, because if you filter by OPS, yes, Manny Machado leads, but you know who is second in OPS? Eugenio Suarez. What if I tell you Suarez by the All-Star break has double the home runs of Manny Machado? Right now, Suarez is 19. Machado has 10. You have to remember, these are fans who are just going to go on and just look at the stats for the All-Star ballot. If you go on the All-Star ballot and you see Suarez has double the home runs of Machado, he currently has more than double-digit the RBIs than Manny Machado. Yes, Machado has 100 points on the average, about 80 points on the OPS. All-Star ballot. Hey, if I open the All-Star ballot 3 weeks from now, one guy has 23 home runs, one guy has 11, one guy has 65 ribbies, one guy has 40. Yes, the average might be better, but if one guy just straight up outproducing the other in all the counting stats, I'm not looking at, you think the casual fans looking at WRC plus? Think he's looking at WAR? He's going to see, oh, my guy's double the home runs the other guy. The OPS, yes, he hits more singles than Eugenio Suarez. That's cool. I care about home runs and bombs and RBIs. I don't care about singles. So, yes, at that point, Luis Ariz might make the All-Star game if we're only looking at average. But for counting the stats that put runs on the board, it might be Suarez over Manny Machado. Now, if we take defense into account, Suarez's 9 errors might hurt his argument a little bit in the All-Star game. Yeah, Machado is a defensive wizard. But, hey, I'm just saying the counting traditional stats at least put it, I think, a lot closer of a debate, even though I know Manny Machado's slash line kills Suarez this year.
Disgusting of you to use RBIs in this case. Hilarious that you accidentally submerged your own argument by saying he has 80 points on him in average. Look, Eugenio Suarez, the guarantee of power means something. For years, this has been a 30 home run guy, for years now. Every year. And while not necessarily a wizard, pretty decent defensively. It's Manny Machado, though. You know what I mean? It's going to be Manny Machado. Having 10 home runs does not reflect that he's been hitting a lot of doubles, hitting a lot of singles, drawing walks, getting on base at a better clip. He's just been a better overall player. He's got the sexiness appeal, too. But before the season, wouldn't have surprised me. But, man.
And I know you want to crap on RBIs, but when one guy says over 1,000 OPS with runners scoring position, one guy is 800 OPS, you're going to see the RBI total shift, from one guy to another. Just throwing that out there.
Now that's fair. When you start talking about who's produced in those moments. All right, I'm with you, but I think we both agree it's going to be Machado and Corbin, respectively. Josh Naylor, guy. Jackson Merrill, if he heats up a little bit more. Both of these teams still have some all-stars that we didn't have time to get into.
Do we not vote on pitchers? Is that not for the fans? They're not on the ballot. Do we not vote on pitchers? Is that not a thing?
No, I think, don't the managers choose them? I feel like the managers do. I think the managers choose the pitchers, and maybe we choose the last couple. I don't know.
That's kind of weird.
Wrong. We should probably know this. Yeah, we should probably know this. That's crazy. But guys, thank you so much for tuning into today's Locked On Padres, Locked On Diamondbacks Fun Friday crossover extravaganza. Go follow me on Twitter/X at Javipeno, JAVIIPNO. Go follow Millard at Creator Thomas 24 on Twitter/X as well. And until next time, stay safe, my Friday faithful homies, and stay delirious. Stay diamond, my Diamondbacks friends. Why not? No one ever says that, but whatever. We're going to end the show now. Everybody take care.